Welcome everyone to Money Mastery Kingdom Dominion. And we're going to talk about money and marriage. Money and marriage. And this is part of a series. All the month of June, we will be discussing topics around getting comfortable with our relationship with money, getting comfortable with conversations around money. There will be a live session every single day of the month of June. And Sundays are dedicated to money and marriage. Mondays are money and moms. Tuesday is spin the money wheel, and we'll discuss various different topics around your financial wheel and things that you want to do to help achieve those financial goals. Wednesday is the budget clinic, and Thursday is money and extended family. Friday is money mindset. And Saturday is a Bible study that is dedicated to the love of money and everything around money, and what the Bible says about money. So definitely join into the sign up for the if you go to the link in my bio, you'll see an option so that you can sign up and become a subscriber, and you'll get all the latest updates, because sometimes the times will change just depending upon some of the things that are happening. But we want to dive into the conversation very, very quickly and talk about money and marriage. My name is Rakael. I am your money magnet, financial strategist, and I do all things money in terms of helping you manage your money, helping you to get and to reach your goals that you so desire. And I want to introduce my husband. Now, good. Introduce yourself.
Hello, family. Hello, family. Glad to be on. Thank you for having me on, honey. I appreciate the opportunity.
My husband is Johnie Carr, and we are the Cars, and we're going to discuss money and money management today. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that you can experience when you're having to deal with two different people coming together and beginning the journey of their finances. Oftentimes, we just don't have the conversation early enough. So if you are married and finances are going well, that's great. We probably love to have you in on some of this conversation. If you are thinking about marriage, or just you're in a committed relationship and you're seeking to figure out how you can join finances, this would be a very important topic. Or if you're just thinking about what would that entail, if you're thinking about marriage, thinking about sharing your finances, or if you are in a committed relationship, these topics are for you. Hopefully the goal is to have multiple different scenarios and topics, because our way might not necessarily be the best way for you. However, it will give you some insight on some of the tools and tips that we use. So today we're just going to kind of start out in the beginning of, just talking about some of the basic mindsets around finances when it comes to coming together. So one of the questions I have for you, Johnie, is what is your relationship with money? And just understand, for everyone that's watching, and if you're watching the replay, click, type replay in the comments. We would love to hear from you as well. So if you, one of the things to understand, that everybody has a relationship with money. So just imagine you come together and there's two different types of relationships that each individual has with money. This is why it's very important to communicate and to talk about finances. So I'm going to ask you today, honey, what is your relationship with money?
Well, thank you. My relationship with money, well, certainly it's evolved since being married to the money magnet, and I think that's important to note. I think that initially, my relationship was I really didn't. I always like to say I didn't trip off of money, right? And what I mean by that is I grew up in an environment where we didn't have a whole lot, but what we had was sufficient. And my mom always made sure that whatever we had, it was going to be the best. So if we had pants, the pants were going to be ironed. Like I was a professional ironer by the time I was 9, right? Like I knew how to put creases in, and like I knew how to, like, we always looked a certain part. And if we got holes in our shoes, we put pads in the bottom of our shoes. So I never really chased after money. There certainly were things that I wanted, and really the only reason that I wanted money was to take care of my family. I wanted to be married and have kids for as long as I can remember. I've always been a family guy. So I think my relationship with money is that I enjoy it, but I don't let it dictate who I am. Now, like I said, being married to a money magnet, you kind of that evolved. It really did evolve, and I think it evolved to a better place where I understand that money is really supposed to work for me, right? And that I'm not supposed to be. I'm not afraid of wealth, and I'm not afraid of having money. So I think my relationship is that now is that money is supposed to work for me.
Thank you for that. My relationship with money is one that, I mean, I think it's pretty similar. And as you can see, it's easy to get an alignment when you've been married for a while and you get to share some of those. But I'm wondering, what was it like for you maybe before marriage, going into marriage? What were your thoughts about money? How did you, versus where you are today?
Yeah. Well, of course, when it's only you, it's completely different than when you got a family to take care of, right? It's so funny. I, I think I've always been a guy who's had style. At least I thought I was until I got married. And then I noticed that my wife was buying me things, and I thought she was buying me things just because she loved me and that she was being nice, and she was. But I realized she was trying to get me to look presentable. You know what I mean? So I never really spent a lot of money on stuff people would walk by these expensive stores and be like, yeah, yeah, and I'd be like, yeah, I mean, it's whatever. But I really began, so before I got married, I really didn't. Again, I just didn't trip off of it. If I saw something I wanted, I definitely would get it. Being married, I just absolutely want the best for my family. I want the best for. I always put myself. I won't say I put myself last, but I put my family first, right? So now I understand that, and I've never been a saver. Let's just be real clear. I'm a spender. Like I believe I got myself in trouble for this. I believe money was created to be spent. I do believe it's supposed to be saved. Don't get me wrong, but and I don't feel like you can save money if you didn't how can you save money if you need it to pay for other things, right? Again, that has changed for me. But since being married, I understand that not only should I be having money put away in case things happen. Like my wife really got me focused on what happens if you die. That was a hard conversation. You don't want nobody talking to you about dying. Like, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute. But then you really start thinking about that, like, what will happen? I want my family to be taken care of. So I think a saving mindset really got to me now. So now as a husband and a father, I'm making sure that my kids can go to school, making sure that my if something happens to me, that my family won't have to worry about paying for bills and that checks will be coming in. And I think so the mentality is different. It was more about me in the beginning, but now it really is and my grandchildren and my grandchildren's children. It's really about building wealth for them so that they don't have to experience the things that I had to experience before I came into a little bit of money.
Well, that's really good. My philosophy and my belief on money has been around, I think a lot of times it was just stemmed in, I just didn't want to be poor. Didn't want to be poor, didn't want to be broke. So everything was really based off of survival. How can I survive? And survival meant to make sure that there was a nest egg, make sure that there was something saved because at any given time, life could throw me a curveball. So I am the saver in the family, but I've always been a saver. And it came from a place of being constantly in survival mode, constantly not knowing or not trusting where the next resources will come. So even as you get more resources, sometimes that survival mentality will stick with you. And you have to start to change your money scripts and your money mindset around money so that you can experience a different relationship with money. So knowing that your relationship with money can evolve over time as you mature, as you grow, and giving yourself that grace to be able to mature and grow. And a lot of times when he would say things like, I don't trip off of money, that would just immediately send me into a frenzy because to me, is what does that mean exactly? Because we absolutely need money to maintain a household. So when you don't trip off of it, what does that mean? Do you care about the future? Do you care about the tomorrow? This today mindset. And when you're newly married, or even after you've been married for quite some time, trying to have those deep conversations with someone that one is the head of the house, and it's an intrinsic belief, like he's very strong about he doesn't trip over money, yet we need money for everything. And one of the things I think is important in marriage, obviously, is communication, right? So getting an understanding, what does do not trip mean? Because something could be vexing you, something could be getting you upset, on how someone is communicating their feelings towards something, when you feel completely opposite. But if you don't address it, if you don't say, okay, let's talk about this. What does it mean to you when you say you do not trip about money? And I asked him that question. And what did you respond?
She did. She did ask me that question, and I didn't realize that it vexed her. And I need to kind of just share that. Um, I think the communication is powerful. I actually did the finances first when we first got together. My to me, success was you got this amount of money, you got this amount of bills. If you pay the bills off and they all paid on time, it's success. Why are you tripping? Like, what's the problem? Like everything paid off, right? And I did believe in budgeting. Don't get me wrong, I did. And I want to make it clear, I'm not a reckless spender. Like my wife will tell you, I don't just spend money on like stupid stuff. Like I don't walk in a house with a new motorcycle. I don't do that. Okay. If I spend money on anything, it's food. I'm not kidding. Or my family, like, which is crazy. Like we'll spend a ton of money on McDonald's. So anyway, that's a whole nother story. I think I don't trip off money means as long as my family is happy and I'm happy, I don't stress, right? And so it doesn't mean that I don't think that money is important. I think the communication piece was important because my wife has had this gift for a very very long time, and I just didn't know it. And because my wife is wonderful at yielding to the God in me, she really is. Like, and she always reminds me that I'm the head of the household. I always say, "What you mean by that?" Right? Um, she will yield to me as long as the decisions that I'm making aren't hurting our family. And if she feels like they are, then she'll have that conversation. So when I used to say I didn't trip off money, what I was really basically saying was I'm not stressing. Like, right, like if it comes down, if it's $20 left in the account, I'll give it to my wife. Or if it's $100 left, I don't need it. Like as long as my family is happy, I'm good. I think what my mother taught me growing up was happiness is more important than money. You need money, don't get me wrong, but I just would rather be happy and content and joyful. I love my family. I love being my family. I love spending time with my family. But then you realize when you get the reality that you want to do stuff. You want to travel. You want to go places, and you need money for that, right? So I think I don't trip off of money. I don't say that as much anymore, especially now since I know how my wife feels about it. And I think we've done things and made adjustments, which now I understand. Yeah, we do need to have an emergency fund. Yeah, we do need to save. I understand the point of saving. It's not just saving to be saving. It's saving to make sure that my family is taken care of. And if something happens, they're okay and we're okay. So I think I don't trip off of money, man. I'd rather be happy than sitting here stressing over money. Well, I mean, we are, we alive. She'd be like, "We mean we're alive? We need," And so I think my attitude is less nonchalant and more. I think you're right, honey. How do we work this out to make sure we have this? And she's come up with some brilliant things. Like one of the things, hopefully, she'll talk about is I used to get to the birthday and just, all right, we're gonna pay this and we're gonna pay this and we're gonna pay this, and it's like there was no thought, there was no planning, and she has gotten us looking ahead at the beginning of the year to say, okay, this person's birthday coming up, the anniversary is coming up, this is coming up, how much are we gonna spend? And like actually planning and being thoughtful about that, and then taking steps to put that money to the side. To me, that's great because ain't nothing like giving money and knowing you can do it, and you ain't giving from a place of being broke, right? The feeling is just amazing, right? And then you still got stuff left. So I think that's what it meant. That's a long answer, but I think that's what it meant when I said I don't trip off of
Things would probably be the opposite for me. So I'm always thinking about money. I'm always thinking about a lot of things, actually. I think I always thinking about 3, 5, 10 years ahead, thinking about the death. I think I have the, little, my little case over here that, okay, if I die tomorrow everything needs to be, this is the case you go to and you pick it up and you're able to find everything that you need in there. So I think I'm always just thinking about many different scenarios and different things that could occur, whether it's money or whether it's other things that's happening within the household. So for me, don't not tripping is that you're not caring. How I interpret it was that he was
Right.
not caring about our
Right.
future, was not caring about tomorrow, and he doesn't mind if everything is blown today. And it's probably some level of emotional trauma too, because when you grow up and you see things like that, when you see not having or you see money just being blown, it brings you back. It triggers those moments where then you're in transition and you don't know what the next steps are. So it's always important to get financial healing. So I would definitely suggest that on Saturdays you attend the devotional for financial healing, because a lot of that is discussed there in terms of moving through that process. Um, One of the other questions I really wanted to ask you, what do you think about does money equal masculinity?
That's a good question. I want to. Can I piggyback on something you said a little earlier? I think I think I finally understand my wife's money language. You know how they talk about love language? I think I understand her money language. I think she understands my money language now. And I think it's important to understand the money language. I honestly was not caring about our future. Of course I was caring about our future. It's just that the way I communicated that sent the wrong messages. And that's I believe that's why you have a lot of this trauma in marriages and stuff like that. I just wasn't into things. I definitely wanted nice things for my wife, but it's nice now to plan and be able to buy my wife things and not have to pull from reserves. You know what I mean? Like it's just nice. So anyway, I just want to make that point. Does money equal masculinity? I think it depends on the relationship. I think again, I was raised by a mother, a grandmother, two sisters, like pretty much all females, and so I kind of have a different I have a different perspective about my mom did a wonderful job of making sure I understood what it was to be a man. She never talked negatively about my father. He wasn't around a lot, but she never talked negatively about him. She always talked to me about what it was to be a man, and she raised me to do that. She didn't let I wasn't allowed to play with girls, and I was trust me, I was a straight jock. I mean, she made clear, but she also taught me that being masculine doesn't mean that you're not emotional. My wife will tell you that I'm probably one of the most emotional people that she knows. I I believe in masculinity, but I believe in masculinity in terms of protecting your family. So does money equal masculinity after being married to a money magnet? To me, absolutely not. My wife is better at it than I. It's just bottom line. I mean, just flat out bottom line. The goal is make sure my family's taken care of, make sure we have a future, make sure that we are financially secure. And I was paying the bills. We wasn't late. I was paying the bills, but that was it, right? We have a future. We have a nest egg. We're thinking about money now. So I think if it equals masculinity, that's pride. And my wife, we always talk about pride, the Bible says that pride comes before fall, and so I think money equaling masculinity equals pride. Money should equal whoever does it best, and then I support her. Now that doesn't mean that we always agree, because I look, you ain't gonna have me in here eating no Wheatios. I want Cheerios. You ain't gonna have me here drinking them little juices. No, I mean, come on now. I mean, I need my stuff. I want my ESPN, and we have those conversations. And I think it's not compromise. It's synergy. It's give and take. And there's things that she understands that I would like to have, and then there are times that there has to be sacrifices. I just gotta give up some stuff, right? So I don't think it equals masculinity. I think it's important to work through it, and it's whoever's best at it should do it.
I'm glad my husband said that, because the story belongs to the storyteller. So we had a seesaw in the beginning. I really want to encourage newlyweds or people that you are in a marriage. When we came together, we both had established lives. Okay, so we both had established careers, and deciding who was going to pay the bills or who was going to have control over the finances primarily was a seesaw. It went back and forth for a period of time before it landed where it is today. So and that became that struggle. And I remember probably in pre-marriage thinking and asking, I think I asked the pastor, like, who should manage the finances? Because in my mind I was better. In his mind, he was better. So because he's pretty accustomed to managing budgets and things of that nature. But I knew in my soul, in very my inner being, that I have that skill. And it was a struggle in going back and forth because it never maintained a good forward trajectory because there was just that conflict, and we weren't able to synergize in the beginning. In the beginning, it wasn't we didn't have good money scripts with each other. So I want to encourage you that it doesn't always happen
Mhm.
immediately. Sometimes it's a journey to get to a place, and don't give up. You start, I would manage it, and then he would think, well, if you have all the money, what's going, you don't need it. You don't need an allowance. We should talk about allowances and things of that nature. But before we get into that, I want to ask you a question. Do you think there's a thing as his and her money?
That's a good question. I hmm. My wife's memory is much better than mine, as you just heard. Like she, like I kind of tend to focus on the last iteration of whatever happened. Um, I mean, I guess there is, especially in today's world, there's his and her money. I'm starting to kind of lean more that way, but I think anything I have is my wife's. I never like I will spend it on my wife and my children before I spend it on myself. Um, And I don't know that I expect her to do the same thing, but I do think so. There's things she likes to do. There's things I like to do for her, but my wife is a tremendous gift giver. She's very thoughtful. You already heard her talking about thinking, but she's a thinker, right? She processes and I don't do that as much. I like, oh, that's nice, I get it, right? But I mean, she thinks like how I'm gonna use it. She goes through this. She probably has a formula for doing it. Like not me. So I think probably yes, there is such a thing. I think as long as it's not being hidden from one another, right? Like I think as long as if something comes up, the other person is not unwilling to say, "Hey, no, I got you, babe. I hook you up." Yeah, it's things that she wants to do. She likes to get her nails done. She likes to, get massages. I mean, I want to be able to do those things for her. But yeah, so I guess the answer is yes. I think before I was concerned, not with my wife, but I was just concerned about and I do believe from your previous relationships, you bring stuff into the current relationship. I think you have to work through that with your mate and y'all talk about what's best for us. So in this relationship, I don't see a problem because I trust my wife. I give her the benefit of the doubt, and she's never done anything that would cause me not to trust her. If I didn't trust her, it was because of some stuff that have happened to me in the past. So, yeah, I think there's it's okay to have his own money.
I think his and her money, I think whatever works for you. Having a discussion about what it's going to be in the beginning. I remember when we first met, or when we were having that conversation around money. One of the things he stated was, no, I think we have a joint account, and my money is my money, and then we have our together money, and then your money is your money. That way, if I get a bonus, my bonus is my bonus, and
I said that.
he says
I
what
don't
you
remember.
said, and I
I
was
don't
just
remember
like,
but anyway.
that's interesting. I was like, because what's the point? That's kind of what I thought. What would be the point of doing that? Because again, I was already established. He was already established. What's the point in coming together if you're going to keep your money and I'm going to still keep my money? That's what I was thinking. I can just keep my money and be happy. Uh, so we ended up deciding prior to getting married that we would put everything together. Over time, we started to work and say, okay, what makes sense in terms of having your money? Like, if he wants to get me a gift and surprise me, but everything is together, then it's hard to surprise the person. So you have to, and that goes back to trust. You can trust someone and still have things separate, knowing that. So he has credit cards that I'm not on, because I don't even want to see. I don't even want to see whatever his fun time spending. It's just like, okay, here's the budgeted amount that he has to spend whatever it is he's going to spend, and I'm not going to worry about it because I can always think of a cheaper, easier, more economical way of doing things. But that's how I approach things. I approach things through a lens of what's the most efficient, effective way of doing any and everything. he approaches things that he just wants to have fun, and having fun with it is just being able to spend it. So, um, for my own self, I just kind of, I just make sure the bills are paid when it's things that I know he is surprising or doing different things for. But I like what you said about being able to trust, because that brings me to my next question about financial infidelity. Now, for those of you that do not know, financial infidelity is when couples have combined income or combined resource, their money is together, but one person or both people are hiding or spending money that they are not letting the other party aware of, and how this can impact the relationship. So, have you ever had any financial infidelity, husband?
No wife. No, I don't. I mean, my wife is everything to me, y'all. I mean, my kids are. Everything I have is really for them, and I think that's just at the core. You know, taking care of my mother and my sisters. I always wanted to buy my mother a house. I always wanted to. You know, I'm definitely mama's boy. You know, so they'll tell you that. And I'm a husband, a wife's boy. I guess you said it right. Like, I would much prefer that, and I just don't see the point in that. That's why I kind of surprised me. I was like, I'll keep my own. That must have been some, like I said, some past stuff that I bought in. But nah, I've never had that, and I've never seen that with my wife either. So for me, I would much rather put everything in the pot. Now, I want my allowance. You know, I mean, I need to. I mean, come on now. I mean, I need to. I'm gonna do some things. And what kind of things do I do? I buy food. And usually, I buy food for the family, or I buy. Like again, I ain't gonna buy motorcycles or come in the house. But my wife usually buys everything for me, my clothes and all. Every once in a while, I buy something that she make me take it back. So I'm buying nothing no more. You know, she's like, what? Fine. You know, so I think no, I've never had that, and it's bothersome to me when I hear about that with other people. It's a shame. It really is. So.
Well, I think sometimes financial infidelity, it sounds much worse than sometimes probably it is. Because sometimes, a lot of time, it's that Amazon. Okay, Amazon is showing up, and Amazon, Sheen, I think they got a new one out, Temu, and them boxes are showing up. And if you're on schedule with your husband, you're thinking, okay, what time the boxes? You're typing in to Amazon, hey, deliver to the back of the house or deliver in the corner so you can get it in, hide it so they don't know about it. And then you start having a lot of debt that piles up because you're not having the conversation. So sometimes it's it's important, not sometimes, all the times, it's important to have the conversation. No matter how tough it is, no matter how difficult. I can get pretty tense about overspending, or those conversations can be intense. So I want to give you some tools around that. You want to say something, look like you're chewing at the bit.
No, no, Jesus, no. Mm-mm.
And it's so bad because, as well as you can get along with other things, it's like when money come into play and one person has an expectation and the other person has a different expectation, and there's a clash, it seems so difficult to move through. But I want to tell you, one of the easiest ways to do it is to choose peace. It's not always that easy in the moment, especially if you feel as though someone is overspent, or if you feel as though someone is withholding money, or there is financial infidelity, or you go and look at an account and you think it was one thing, and it's not, and you had made plans, and you made plans maybe together, and that plan wasn't working. So I want to just kind of encourage you on, when it comes to those particular things, when it comes to conflict in your budget, first choose peace. You have to remember that you guys are a team, and you are working together, and you are wearing the same jersey, same last name, even if your last names aren't the same. But if you're married and you're together, you got to lock arms and know that whatever the decisions are, it's for your betterment. It's for your betterment as a whole. And I see oftentimes where people are making decisions that just impact them, because
Yes.
we might have the thing where, he might think, saying, well, I'm only buying food. But do we need this much food? So someone else might be video games, might be sneakers, might be clothes, it could be anything that one person is overspending on that is a detriment. Now, one easy way of making sure you have all the food you want to buy, all the sneakers, all the games, and whatever it is to have a prosperity plan. Like, what is the plan? What is the plan? What is the purpose for your marriage? What are the goals for your marriage? What is the prosperity plan for your marriage? What is the financial plan for your marriage? Having these discussions and coming to an agreement will start to build those building blocks of trust
Mhm.
within the relationship, trust within the marriage. Because if you don't have that, if you're not moving towards that, there's no way of getting around it. You can't think your way out of it. Now you might say, okay, the person is pretty stubborn. It wasn't always that we were on the same page in terms of how we're going to manage finances. We think completely different about money. Getting him on my side, because you can't just try to be right. My way is right and his way is right. How can we get to in the middle? If I could draw a circle in between our two faces right here, that piece in the middle is like him, and then how do you interlock and get that piece in the middle where we can come together? And that's what you have to look for. You can't change your spouse, um, but you can get to a point where, because he makes it better. Like, I don't think prior to being married, I had an entertainment budget. It just wasn't something I thought was important. These bills, this future, uh, retirement, things of that nature was important. Entertainment sounds something like something soft, something for people to do that was wasteful. And I had to get out of that mindset that having fun and having an entertainment budget is wasteful, because it is not. You need that downtime, you need that fun time. It just wasn't something that I had considered. So know that you're not always right. The other person's always right, is not always right. And where can you begin to compromise? Because in that compromise is where you're going to find some some greater things. When we had hard times, yeah, my hard times was, let's go hardcore. Because if we go hardcore, we can get out of this in 6 to 8 months. The reality is, he's not he don't want that life. He was not willing to accept that life. So I had to start getting creative with how we could still get out of our current situation that we were in at the time and move to a place of prosperity. What can I do?
Mhm.
So
Can I say something though?
mhm,
So I recognize that wherever you are is a product of the decision that you make, right? And so I recognize that, right? And so something came up on my screen. There it is. Um, I think for me it was important to I had to yield to what was best for the family, and I have one of my things was my wife has always been. I need to give the people in the back some context, right? My wife has been a grinder her whole life. Everything has been a grind for her, right? Um, and I mean everything, from schooling to just everything's been a grind for my wife. And I would worry about her so much. I'd be like, honey, you like, baby girl, we gotta have some fun. We gotta chill, right? Like I would always say, I work my behind off. I ain't gonna be working then, and I don't have no money. Like like I work hard, and maybe that wasn't the best way to say it, but the thought was, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? And like one of the things that we love to do is we love to spend time together outside of work and outside of the kids because we make that a point. That's like an intentional thing. We just did something Friday night, which was and we had a blast. Um, I love how she has accepted that, but I think in the beginning, when she said, "All right, well, we got this much," I would spend more than that, and I think that would irritate her, right? And so now I understand. I'm doing my best to really try to stay within that. And she will say things, she's got me into a saving mindset. She has because I love her and because I do want what's best for us. But now because I understand that. So I think um it's important to have fun together, y'all. Like it ain't gotta be super expensive stuff, but put some time in there for y'all. Like go get away from the kids, get away from the family. Just rediscover your me. Look into her eyes. She tells me stuff about me all the time. She tells me, I want you to pay attention to me. This is us, and I appreciate that. So I think it's important to have. You can call it entertainment, call it what you want, but budgets are very stringent and tight, and I'm like, ugh, put something in there where we can have a little bit of fun. So anyway, I just want to share that.
It's funny that he would say budgets are stringent and tight. So I've tried to live that free life. Like, hey, let me not do the budget this week. And I feel, whew, I feel like it gets hot. I'm outside. You're outside and you don't know, you're not prepared on being outside. So you want to go back inside. Everything is, so the feeling he has when he thinks of a budget is tight. The feeling I have when I think of budget is the seatbelt that goes on when you get in the car. I feel secure. I feel safe. I feel like I know that there is a lane. This is the lane that we're operating in. This is the safe zone. I don't feel like I'm going to fly out the window if somebody hits me in the rear. So I have the exact opposite feeling. I feel joy. I feel peace. I feel calmness when I think about a budget or when I think about a plan. I feel like we have a good eyesight on where we're going and we are going to get there safely.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be any anxiety. There's not going to be any pain. There's not going to be any debt when we return. So that is my feeling when I think of a budget. And so when I hear him say that stringent and tight, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm being squeezed. I feel I'm safe in Jesus' arms when
And I don't do the budget, so I don't like for me like she protects me from all that, but I can tell when my wife is doing the budget. Oh, trust me, I can tell when she's doing the budget. Her whole demeanor shifts to we gonna get this thing right, right? I can always tell, and so I don't have to deal. And she recognizes that, and so I don't. She. So with her doing it, I don't have to deal with that. She says, "Here's what we got. Here's what we're gonna do," and I appreciate that. And I think for me, I recognize that what gives her a level of comfort and peace and appreciation is when I follow the budget. Like I'm good with following the budget because the way she has us set up now is if we going on vacation, we ain't going on vacation and coming back figuring out how we gonna pay for stuff. Oh, when I say everything gonna be paid for and everything is, and that's a beautiful. You can enjoy the vacation. I remember the very first vacation we went on. We called it the broke vacation. It was a broke vacation. We talk about it all the time. It's one of those things in your marriage you talk about. I mean, we rented a car. It was a Ford Focus. It was like it was this whole. The car, it made noise. It was just crazy, y'all. But now when we go on vacation, it's planned out. And I think planning. I think there's power in planning. There's such power in planning. She's gotten me to that stage that we're able to get. And she always asks me, "Honey, tell me what you want. Tell me," because she always wants to make sure she gets what I want in there. And now I'm like, "No, honey, I'm gonna do whatever you want." She's like, "Tell me what you want. You want to stay at this hotel? You want, so." And I think when you're able to plan, you're able to make those decisions. She works very hard to make sure that we have that, and I do. I appreciate that. So I think for me, it's important to yield to her. And so when I say budgets are stringent and tight, I don't mean that in a negative way. I ain't got to deal with it. Like my wife deals with that, right? And she tells me, "All right, we tight this month. We can't do it. Okay, baby, I'm good. Or we good this month. I'm like, all right, good. Okay, that's. So that's how I look at it.
And there could be so many different philosophies. When he was managing the budget, if it was something tight way back when, his first response was, let's pull from retirement. Let me pull from my retirement account. To me, that is literally never an option. I'm like, I feel like there are 10,000 things to do before you start pulling from retirement. But in his mind, I mean, I need it right now. So right now is when it's necessary. It's not necessary. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. God's going to take care of us in the future. We don't have to worry about that. Those are the things that start to send complete opposite. So knowing who's stronger and being able to stand in that strength. Well, trusting God is also trusting God that he can provide right now and that he does not want you to take from your future self, because when you grow up, if you grow up in poverty for some reason, sometimes we just don't want to think about the future. We don't think we're going to retire. We think we're going to work until we die. And if we don't work until we die, it'll be okay. And there's so many people that are in retirement age that are struggling. They're living on a very tight fixed income and they have no other options. And the way that you prepare for that is that delayed gratification. There are just some things we can't have right now. Consumerism is a setup. They literally set this process up to keep you engaged and to keep you spending money so they can keep creating products and they can keep creating debt and making money off of you. And once you understand the system, you're not moved by the Joneses. I mean, you got to get to a point where it's just you do not want to start making decisions on your life based off of what other people have, but defining what it is that you desire, what you desire for your marriage, what's your marriage purpose, what's your marriage plan, and focusing on that. So, establishing money management roles and expectations, that's important because it might be my role to be the CFO, his role is the CEO. But what does he expect of me? And what do I expect of him? And having that conversation. One of the things we do is we schedule a money session every week.
Hmm.
This session has to be where you have decreased distractions. You can have this set up where you have it with the kids as well, but you need to have time where it's just you and your spouse, and you're talking about what's coming up in the future week, what's coming up in the future 2 weeks, what's coming up in the next month, and what do you need to prepare for? What do you need to plan for? What are some things that you can do to make life a little bit easier so when you get to that place, you're not wondering, particularly if you have aging parents, if you have aging parents on both sides, how are you supporting them? How are you going to be able to support them financially? What does that look like in the budget? Planning for that in advance, all those different things. Having a money date weekly and where you don't discuss really anything else but the finances for the home, for the businesses, for whatever's coming up. And that's all, that is the primary focus. You can use that time to discuss other things, but you have to have dedicated time to have a money date, weekly, bi-weekly, preferably weekly, where you can discuss your finances. It will allow such a smooth, whenever we get off track and we miss like a week or maybe 2 weeks, that's when things start happening. Because when you come together in house, the house is happening, the household, it's very difficult to have those money conversations in a way where you can really think about everything that's coming up, everything you might want to do, everything you're thinking about doing. There's things that happens only seasonal where that you have to consider that you can plan for in the off season so that when the season comes up, you're not stretched too thin. So how has having those money dates helped you, honey?
Yeah, that's probably been one of the most impactful things that we've ever done. I'd never done that before. That has really helped me. And for the brothers that's listening, it's like, well, how you know what's going on if we let her do the budget? That's the time I can find out what's going on. You know, she shows the entire budget. She shows what we had budgeted, what we spent. I can ask about savings. I can ask about anything, but it's an hour for us to just talk about, the finances and what we're doing and how we've been tracking, and how we've been spending, and how I've been doing. Because it's really me. I'm the spender, right? It's about me. And that has been absolutely the most impactful. And I would recommend that for folks. And I think you have to have someone in the family who's down with that. My wife is very detailed and very intricate. That's just not me. I'm not that. I think I am, but I'm not that detailed. I mean, I manage, multi-million dollar budgets, but it's different. It's for corporations versus the household. And she's thinking about how much we put away in our 401k, and, how much, how much we can give moms on Mother's Day, and like all these things are coming up. And that weekly session is great because when we talk about, instead of missing each other or making snide comments to each other, we come together and we talk about the money, we talk about the finances, and it's good. And sometimes we get it down to such a science that we end up talking about other stuff. Like I'll say, honey, have I told you how beautiful you are? You just look so amazing. And then she gives me that smile right there. See that smile? So it gives you a chance to connect, and I really do love that. I mean, it's probably been the most impactful thing we've done.
Thank you. We are preparing to close, and I have one last topic that's kind of funny. These are things I think you should discuss ahead of time before you get married, before you commit your finances to one another. But this conversation I didn't have until later, and my husband alluded to it in the beginning, and it very contentious. He was very upset when I brought this up, and I said, "What does your life insurance look like?" See, the thing is, we often assume that everybody has their stuff together, especially if you come together and you're established. But what does your life insurance look like? And he was like, "What are you trying to kill me?" That was what. And in my mind, I was so, I can't even describe what that meant to me. But in his mind, apparently, legitimately, that's what he thought. So I think it's really important for those of us, whether this is a man thing or if women have this trouble, of talking about your legacy, talking about what happens when you die, and being able to have that conversation without thinking someone is trying to harm you.
Yeah, I think I mean, all jokes aside, it's a difficult conversation to have. It's a necessary conversation to have, but it's a difficult conversation to have. But it did get me thinking. After you get through all the, she just asked me if I got any life insurance. And of course, I didn't think my wife was trying to kill her. I'm just like, it's kind of, why are you asking me about life insurance? Well, she's asking because again, she's the thinker. She's very proactive in her thought process, and I'm not. And I often say to my wife, "Honey, I don't process like you do. Like you're always thinking." She's always 10 steps ahead, and for our marriage, that has been phenomenal. You need somebody like that, and I want to make sure that they don't have to worry about paying the house. They don't have to worry about paying bills. I already told them I'm gonna come back and hunt the cat that try to come in after me. I ain't worried about that, but I do want to make sure that they have everything that they need. My kids going to school. I don't want my wife struggling. And when you think about it that way, it's like, you know what? Yeah, this makes sense. And not enough brothers, not enough of us do that. Um, the other people do it, but not enough of us do that. So I do appreciate that, and we do make sure that is, and you need to do the right situation too, right? You got to find the right policy and the right, all that. So yeah, I do appreciate that.
Well, thank you for this great conversation. There's so many things that we could talk about with finances. This is our first session, so thanks for joining us today. And definitely submit your questions, because as we come back each and every week on Sunday, we're going to have more conversations around money and marriage and some of those things, because there's just not enough married couples talking about these things, these financial issues. And when you see people, they all have it all together. And if you're struggling, you're trying to figure some of those things out. There's nobody talking about. There's nobody telling you some of those pitfalls, some of those things that we really had issues with, and how we were able to overcome. So we're hoping to open up that dialogue. We're hoping to bring some more couples in so they can talk about some of their struggles and their successes, so you can see many different vantage points of this. Honey, any last words?
No, just thank you, honey, for doing this. I think this is so important and so powerful. And I want to encourage those of you that are out there. Um, one of the biggest struggles people have in their marriage is money and being able to talk about money. My wife has done some amazing and brilliant work, and I mean that, guys. Check her out, man. Check out her website. Check out her bio. She's done a lot of things, and I can tell you from personal experience, it has really, really helped us and solidified not just our the financial aspect of our marriage, but it's just helped our marriage overall. So I would encourage you, brothers, especially the brothers, man, get there, man. Learn a little bit about this. Join us, every Sunday. Pose your questions, and let's talk about money and marriage, man. So great job, honey. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Happy Sunday. And if you need any budget tips or anything around money, please look in my bio, and there are tons of tools and tips that will help you. Thank you so much for joining. Bye for now.